Welcome back to the Nimber Tribe podcast. Today we have a friend of mine on. Her name is Eszter Kolossváry and she is a change and mindset coach. I always like to ask in the beginning about the origin story because I feel every superhero has one. So can you guide us through how you came into this coaching mindset? How did you come to be what you are today?
Thank you, Nina, and so happy to be here with you today and explore all of what we're going to talk about in the next hour. My origin story, wow. So I would say I would highlight two things that are hindsight important in my story. I come from an engineer's family, so surrounded by thinkers. And I absorbed a lot of this logical thinking around me when I grew up. I had a marvelous, amazing childhood, and I was very much into music and dancing. I'm a feeler, and so I'm like the little odd of the family. And so very curious mind, always in exploration and always on alert. So as already a little baby, my mom loves quoting the story, actually, that I couldn't even speak yet, that I was already like alerting and reacting to all kinds of things that were going on parallel in my world or around me in the environment. So I was like all the time aware and very much connected. So this is like my true essence. And so family is one, super important, and the other is the business career that I would highlight. So from music and languages also that I studied a lot, languages, music and dance, I was actually guidance of my parents. I was moved away from that towards numbers. So I studied business and I went on to have a career where I was changing quite often different industries, countries even, and roles. So I was still in the exploration mode with my curiosity, but very much it revolved around business and numbers, and from back office through sales and marketing and project management. So it took me a while to understand the connection points or the main thread between those roles, and that was people. So I was always drawn to different tasks where I had to coordinate or, arrange things with people, share knowledge with people. Yeah, so it was like the common thread. But of course, there was no I thought I was on a conscious career path by the meaning that it was in the early years, but with the knowledge and wisdom I have today, I know that there are other levels of consciousness that you can reach in that. And so this revelation came a bit later to me when I actually decided to make a big change in my life, to move back to my home country after working away abroad in different cultures. And I came across a very interesting international training company, and they offered for me to be a consultant with them. So I started to explore and study about human behavior and people development. And I got into the soft skill training space. And in a few years' time, it led me to a more focused, more, I would say, personalized treatment, which is coaching. So this is kind of in a nutshell the story.
Beautiful. And what I hear, there's a lot of curiosity to explore different paths, different cultures, different jobs. So that definitely resonates with me. Another thing that I think we have in common is that at some point in our life, we kind of pivoted towards more of the kind of logical, something that we often describe as like masculine energy, the doing, the I can conquer kind of energy. And maybe the more feminine energy got a little bit left behind. Could you maybe start us off with kind of defining what these two energies mean to you or how you define them, and then how they relate to your own story?
Yeah, so to be honest, I thought I knew what the feminine was and also what the masculine was probably before stepping into this topic in a more conscious manner, because I do use this a lot in my work today. So I thought, I when I was a sensual dance instructor, and always, by the way, from a small child, like years, so my early years, I was a very girly girl, you know. I was into wearing skirts when everyone else was in the first Reebok shoes that was like so trendy, and jeans and jumpers. I had some relatives in Austria, the neighboring country, and they always dumped some clothes in my family that they didn't want to wear anymore. And I found always skirts and blouses and stuff in the piles. And so I would be like so happy to wear those. So I was like, I would say I considered myself to be connected to my feminine very much. And I thought that was about the lipstick and the pretty clothes and stuff. And even as a dance instructor later, this came in my 20s, you know, women came to my classes and thanked me for finding and redefining their confidence and, you know, connecting themselves to this energy. And that was not conscious. I just did it by instinct, you know, and that was it. I thought that was it. And later on, when I felt burnout came into my life through the corporate world, and I had to deal with other adversities like traumatic and painful separation in my private life as well. Those events made me explore and dive more into what these energies represent. That's when I would say I learned more, and I kind of recognized how my path kind of moved me away from the feminine energy, where with dance and music it was very much present and I was connected, but it was so much more. As a woman, as women in general, we have an easy access to this incredible creative power. So if we wanted to define the feminine, is all about the being. It's all about being nurturing, being in the receiving mode, and knowing how to slow down, and being empathic, and much more of this qualities. Whereas today, in today's world, we are very much surrounded by the masculine in the patriarchal society, and in the business world, it's all about the performance and the doing, and very much a lot of people's concept of success and happiness is also connected to these qualities. So how logical can you be? How well can you execute? How fast can you be? Just always in the going, in the doing, strategy and execution and application of what you know. So obviously staying in one or the other energy for too long will result in imbalance, and this is what in my case happened in terms of the burnouts and stuff. So that was a big light bulb moment for me, and that's when I started to truly study them and understand better how we can also consciously engage with them.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that part of your story a lot, because I think it's very similar to mine. And even coming back to the definition, I kind of like to think of the masculine of kind of like as a container, and then the feminine is kind of the thing that kind of flows through it. So you need some kind of structure in your life, but then you also need that kind of flow element to allow that to allow it to move. Beautiful. So I think that's really beautiful. And I just coached a woman the other day that was talking about, like, she has such intuition about things at work and like a gut instinct. And I think even men say that, like, I had an instinct about it. Like we say that in business as well. Yeah. But then you kind of need to make up numbers. So you need to come up with like a rational story so that you can sell it to other people. Like it's not enough to be like, I have an intuition about this. There's very little value placed on that. You then need to come up with a rationale around it.
But it's already a good place to be, I would say, if you approach it this way. So if you are able to, and that for me is a testament of a very high level of consciousness, because if you are able to be connected to your intuition and to listen to it, to actually hear the whispers, because most people are so cut off that we don't even hear the whispers, right? So the more you nurture this connection, the more you are able to tap into this power and use it. And then if you listen to it, and then you can go, you know how to engage consciously again with the masculine to kind of, collect the data and back it up. Then I would say you will have a good balance there and a good game, because you bring the best out of the two worlds and make them come into a dance.
100%, yes. But on that point that you just mentioned there, you said like we need to learn to listen. If we have someone who might be listening to the podcast and who's like, yeah, well, I am very rational, I like to go about my day, and maybe there is a little bit of this, because for me it felt like fulfillment was missing. Like I had things that I could put on the wall and be like, I'm successful in X, Y, and Z.
Box.
Yeah, but it didn't feel like it. Like on the inside it felt empty, so that was my own experience with it. If we have someone listening who feels a little bit the same, could you talk about how we can cultivate that relationship with that inner voice, or just to cultivate more of that energy in us?
Of course. So I think it's totally normal to be in this position, because today we are dragged around by the outside world. All these expectations are layered, layer after layer put on us, and we, to be honest, on our during our upbringing, we just accept certain agreements, certain things the way they are. Our parents do their best to teach us, our hopefully teachers as well, and the institutions and all of what surrounds us in the environment. So it's kind of normal. We are accepting these, and we go into this dynamic. And so then, little by little, we lose this innocent, childish discovery kind of, quality, where we question it, or we are just in the present moment. We don't care that they are calling us. We are focused on our little play, So these little check-in moments are the ones that we can reinstall or reinitiate, if you like. And for everyone, it's a different recipe. In my experience, there are so many things you can do to nurture, as you say. First of all, find the connection again, and then nurture it. And so it's different recipe for everyone, but it could include, for example, if we think about it, like from the feminine energy point of view, Mother Nature comes first to mind. So if you can connect with nature in whatever way that is, whereas it's through, swimming in the water, or running by the river, or hugging trees, or just going for a walk, whatever. So it's a regular connection with nature. Nature is there to teach us so many things about life. So that is a feminine energy source, let's say. That's the best one. Connection with nature in any shape or form. Any kind of movement therapy. So things that you do where you connect with your body and listen to the different signals your body is sending you, because our body has the wisdom that our mind sometimes cannot even hold. So if we are able to communicate with it in an active manner, we can be so much more at peace with what's going on in our lives, and bring so much more wisdom to reacting and rather flowing with the world, with the events that are around us. So for me personally, for example, that's yoga, movement, and dance, of course, that I mentioned earlier. But it also is running, for example. So it's like different ways in which you can connect. If you're a woman, but also if you're a man, connecting with the sacral chakra, which is just below the your belly button and around the sex organs, it's also a very flowy energy there. So you can also raise your vibration by that. Meditation, any kind of connection inward that helps you to bring a quiet and kind of nice presence where you are held, because that's what it's all about. So whether this is through a guided meditation, or listening to nature sounds that are recorded, or whatever it might be, but there are plenty activities that you can use. And also, since feminine is about creativity, you can do lots of activities like where you express your creativity. Because not only I very much love the idea how everyone is a creative person, not just those that choose it as a profession, writers or sculptors or or painters. I read about this in Big Magic. This book really talked to me. And so you can express it through whatever you do with your hands, and you experience a flow. For me, it's like creating stuff in the kitchen. I get totally lost in space and time when I get, and especially when it's like few ingredients only at home. Let's create something, that is like not out of a recipe, but something that I come up with. So this kind of stuff, and it can be anything. Yeah, you can do, I don't know, pottery, or even arrange flowers, or sew something, or whatever, So through creativity, you can get in touch with this energy too.
100%. And I love those 3 different pathways. There's the creativity, there's connecting to nature, and then there's connecting with the body. And I think the last one was the hardest for me. Like, I'm an outdoor person, I've always been, so like that came super easy. I like to be creative, especially if I feel like I have the mental space for it. But the connecting with the body for me was really difficult. And what I actually also just talked about with a client is to have an alert on your phone, because for people who are a lot in their head, and we're kind of like a head running around, we forget that we have a body. I actually just talk about like put a reminder on your phone, like maybe 3 times a day, and when it goes off, you just check in, like just check into your body. Where's your breath going? Where do you feel super tense? Do you need to move in any direction?
Perfect.
So it doesn't need to be like a 2-hour self-care routine, but just like how are you actually feeling on the inside?
Absolutely. Like in positive intelligence, I studied also to become a mental fitness coach. We teach people to check in 5 times 2 minutes in a day. And you know what? This is a teaching that comes from yoga, in my case. Because I used to be a dancer. Imagine, that's all about the outward movements, big movements, and very visible and tangible movements. Whereas in yoga, when you are flowing and you are doing different, I practice hatha mainly, and some vinyasa flow, but in hatha we are holding positions for a longer time, and when they were teaching me how to make tiny little adjustments that are totally invisible. When you look at me doing that posture, you won't see that adjustment. I just, kind of moved my hip a little, or changed the position of one foot, whatever it might be, and energy starts to flow differently. And there you have the big impact, no matter how small the adjustment was.
Yeah, I was laughing while you're saying that, because I thought I was quite good at yoga until I practiced with a yoga teacher. And when she would come and just adjust like a millimeter, I was like, shit, this is actually hard. Like I was just holding it before, but not with my muscles. And then just a tiny bit to the left or to the right, it got really challenging all of a sudden.
Yeah, so, it works the deep muscle tissues. So it's wonderful to raise your vibration. And that's why I would say, I'm a yoga practitioner, like daily practitioner, and I don't do 90 minutes yoga every day, but I do for sure 20 minutes or 30, maybe 2 times 10 or 15 minutes, to frame my day or whatever. And like already 5 minutes, only a few like sun salutations can do wonders if you are off balance and you need a pickup, just like a breathing exercise. It won't take you long, but it will connect you to your inner world, and that's the whole point. And the more you go to this connection place, and the more pleasant it will become. So I would say the best tip is for people to find ways in which they can create and make this a pleasant place to go, because then the more you want to go there, the easier the new habit formation will be.
Yes. And I think I want to go deeper into like mindfulness and embodiment practices in just a second, but just to kind of round up that discussion around the feminine and the masculine, because you touched on it maybe 5 minutes ago, is that we often acquainted to like a woman and a man. Could you just give a little bit of clarity what we mean when we talk about these polarities and how we probably hold both of them?
Yeah. A lot of the times, people would think it's the man and the woman, and then, it's like female. A lot I hear as well. People say female and male energy, but truly, yeah, there are these different words because we all hold both of these energies, and they are important to support us in a nice balance that we can create for ourselves. So just like we touched upon this a bit earlier in the conversation, if we are staying in one of those energies for too long, imbalance will show up. So one more reason to be kind of educating ourselves and know a little bit more about these energies so we can consciously engage with them. And so yes, sure. For women, the feminine, accessing the feminine is kind of easier by nature, but it's not true for everyone. I have met a lot of men who are very much in connection with their feminine, and a lot of women who are, we see, and they are the women I work with a lot actually, who are very much in their masculine. They even, some of them, they tell me, oh, well, I actually operate 100% out of that energy, which is strange, but true. So again, it's bringing this awareness and consciousness to it, and yeah, educate ourselves. And then it's a lot about trying to connect to them and understanding how you work and observe yourself, because like there's no one recipe. So yeah, first it's important to understand that, yeah, we hold both of these energies. And I think the best second step would be to then observe yourself. In which area of your life are you stepping more into one or the other energy? And
how would you know?
So, for example, easiest example in the women's case is like we entered the workplace, and the workplace is very much run by the masculine energies. So we probably are there spending quite a bit of time in that energy. At the same time, if we are, for example, managers or, coordinating teams, that might be that our feminine comes to the surface too, because there we are like nurturing, there's a human side to management and leadership. So I have heard, for example, a woman leader saying, I'm very much in my masculine when I talk to my boss, and I'm very much in my feminine when I talk to my team. And this is, natural. And then we always imagine the women then to go home and be very much in their feminine energy, nurturing the family and looking after everyone, and so that's a very classical setup. But at the same time, imagine, for example, an artist will be much more in their feminine energy, doing the work they do, creative work. And there might be the case that they go home and the family, they are in charge of the budgets for going on holidays or looking after renovation of the house or whatever it might be. So there is much more structured, logical, and calculated, strategic approach, and that is the masculine. So the more we know a little bit of nuances about the different energies, how they show up for us, the more then we can observe ourselves. And you can, for example, it's a typical one of the very classical coaching tools is the life wheel, and you can take the different, you can name yourself, because there's a suggestion by the original set out, but you can label your different slices of life the way you want and the way it suits your life best. And then in each of those slices you can check whether you consider yourself to be in the feminine or the masculine energy. And
I like that.
Then you can also take this, of course, onto smaller or lower levels, like in a conversation, for example. Are you leading, or are you receiving, listening, nurturing? So it can be, observed in individual events as well. How you react. Are you moving into your masculine, taking things in your hands, and are you the one who is leading? Are you the one who is deciding? Or are you the one who is more receiving and, following.
Like that. And I like those kind of definitions that you threw in there while you were talking, so we can a little bit better identify what is happening when we are in these different scenarios. And also to look at your life, like you said, with the real, and to be like, okay, in my finances, how do I show up? In my work, how do I show up? In my family, with my health, like what are these different areas of life and how?
Yeah, with the friends, you might be playing different roles. Even between different friends, you might not be showing up in the same energy, depending on who you have in front of you. So it's a very interesting game to play, to observe yourself and to totally, because what I teach in my workshops and what I go through, I guide journeys for people, is that 3 pillars there are in this journey. Awareness. We cannot change anything that we don't create awareness around. So that's always the first step, and there comes observation and education, getting inspiration, and then comes the change. And then the 3rd pillar will be freedom. When you're really practicing change and you know how to bring it about in your life, you're now confident because you know yourself. And that freedom means inner peace, because your decisions are led by these values that are true to your essence, that you got to know along the way.
I love that you mentioned change there, because I know that you are supporting people through bigger life changes, career changes. Often it's very daunting to go through change. And I think even if we consciously or unconsciously know that maybe something needs to change, like we feel kind of stuck, we don't feel good in our life right now, it feels often very, very scary to make that step and be like, okay, I'm gonna change something. How do you support people through this kind of process? How can we think about change as a positive, more so than a very scary thing to do?
Yeah, that's absolutely my sweet spot. I love talking and sharing about this, because I went through my life with this philosophy, like my early career as well, when I talked about, my curiosity leading me to try out different things, that variety is the spice of life. So I saw a lot of positive in change. And I am also aware that a lot of people associate change with that's a scary stuff, or there's a lot of resistance. We don't even know sometimes why we resist. But we know this from the change curve, from which we also call the mourning curve, because we are mourning a past state that we are leaving behind, and we are moving towards something new. So we mourn, we say goodbye to something, and that's like a process that has different stages, different phases. And again, the more we educate ourselves and the more we observe ourselves how we go through change, the better the experience can be. And what I do with people is I explore with them the inner resources, the mindset they need, so that they can create enjoyable change experiences for themselves, because it doesn't have to be full of resistance and fearful or scary stuff. These are always going to be part of the journey, but it does matter in terms of the quality of the experience, how you relate to it. So we start with the very first step of the journey is to look at what is your relationship to change right now. And be it external change that is imposed upon you, or change that you might want to initiate. And of course, in terms of personal development, usually it's transition and transformation that people initiate for themselves. But also, we can't completely disconnect it from our environment, because usually they are inspired to go into entrepreneurship, for example, because they are not happy anymore in employment. So our environment very much influences our decisions, and so we start there, and I lead them through different elements of this journey with the same pillars in mind. So creating awareness, moving them into change, and then creating this freedom, which is like a conscious life design they can introduce in their lives, so that they know that those decisions they truly own, and they are based and aligned with their values. But first we need to get to know those values. So we go through, what fears do you hold? Usually, what are those saboteur attitudes and behaviors that are holding you back? We expose them a little bit. We learn about them. or what are the limiting beliefs and stuff like that. So, and how can you handle them? And they will come back. Even if you handled the bunch of them in this change experience, the next round, or then when you go to the next consciousness level, they will come back again. It's just truly normal. Because why? Why is change scary? Because our mind's mission, number one, is to keep us safe. So our mind will tell us all kinds of stories why we should not go into that change, and to avoid this seemingly danger, which is the unknown. We all have the fear of the unknown, so our mind is trying to protect us. But if we educate ourselves around this and we know, well, that's not true danger, we can say, for example, about the fear that, well, this fear is something I project or something I'm bringing from somewhere else. It's not mine. Then I can deal with it. I know if I labeled it, I looked at it, I gave it space to breathe and to show itself, then I can thank it and, send it off on its way. So yeah, this is one big piece. And yeah, we work a lot with inner resources, because a lot of people are looking for answers in the outside world, whereas they have a lot of inner resources unused or in a very dark corner somewhere, forgotten that they had in the past, and so they can rely on it. They are very important, like courage, belief, confidence, and trust, and a bunch of other things. We also learn self-love, self-care, compassion, which is super important when you throw yourself into new things. And yeah, we also talk a lot about mindset and how can you navigate events of life where your experience is of higher quality, and that you feel that anything that life is throwing at you is somewhere a gift or opportunity. So like an ability, a capacity we develop to be able to see that, even if it's not in the very moment when it happens, a seemingly negative event or something bad, we develop a belief that this is something that is serving you in the long run, but you might not see why. And this sense of permission or allowance or acceptance, in the present moment, that this is okay and that this is bringing me somehow closer to my goal. It's hard to see with the traditional mindset, but if we are moving into this growth mindset, then we can see the positive side. So these are all things we can develop and work on. So it's all part of the journey. And then all this work then also radiate out on our relationships. So this is where then the journey is complete, so that we show up with confidence, navigating our relationships, and we're able to project and show this positive work when we interact with others.
So much good stuff in there. There were so many interesting pieces that you just mentioned there. And I think one thing that I've heard a lot is like we often choose the familiar hell over an unknown heaven. And I think that's how it often feels, like we are kind of in this construct that doesn't really serve us anymore, but we also don't really know how to get out of there, or like it feels really scary. And I think what you said there with the brain is really important to remember. Like your brain has the job to keep you safe, not to have a good life, but just to have a safe life. And I think it makes kind of sense if I look at like cavemen, and maybe you don't want to be the one that explores everywhere by themselves and gets eaten by the tiger. Like that's kind of scary, but we don't live in that world anymore. So it's really important to remember that there might be still the same signaling going on, but if you can calm that with your inner resources that you pointed through, beautiful things.
And it's important to give space to those signals, but just not to stay them for too long, because then if they linger on, they will hold you back. But it's important, if you have negative emotions coming at you, to kind of give them space and explore why they are coming, especially if it's a regular thing. A pattern that you noticed, and of course you need to give it attention, appropriate energy, but then we need to learn to let it go also, so it doesn't hold us back. So if we bring it back to the very let's say a practical example is like in positive intelligence is always the story about the hot stove. Like when you are touching something that is burning you, you're not going to keep your hand there oh, am I sure that I'm feeling this is too hot and it's gonna burn my skin off? Of course, you will like move away your hand really as quick as possible. So reducing the damage. So it's like 1 second. And I'm not saying in real life it's only, if it lasts longer than 1 second, then it's damaging you. But yeah, we bringing this conscious awareness, it's in this nice presence to it, and say, okay, I feel this, okay, fine, why, and then let it go like a cloud in the sky. Yeah. So when we meditate, we also try to let the different thoughts go, but yeah, addressing them is important, especially if it comes up regularly, because these can become a saboteur activity then, and really like hinder your success.
Is there something that you see over and over again, like some kind of limiting belief or anything where you could be like, oh, this is an example and this is how I move someone through? Like, is there anything coming to mind where you're like, yeah, I see this quite often?
Oh, definitely. And this is no news to anyone, I think, but it's about not being good enough and not valuing ourselves, not loving. And that's why I highlighted learning about how to truly love yourself. And loving yourself means also accepting your flaws, accepting things that might be ugly, or that might be difficult, or that might be not so pleasant, or you're not proud of, etc. So just truly bring this conscious awareness to it and presence, and learn to love your wholeness. And yeah, that's important. So yeah, this comes up a lot, where people tend to compare themselves to others, which we truly should not do. We can compare ourselves only to our previous version, and that's what kind of is healthy. We can go to others for inspiration, yes. And so again, navigating this in a healthy manner. And of course, like, I'm no black belt. Like, we are all human and it happens to everyone. It's okay. But once you are aware, then you do have this freedom to choose.
What I hear there is, first step, definitely awareness, and then to bring compassion to whatever we see in that awareness, like not to judge it, but just to see it and kind of hold it.
Important.
Is kind of the energy that I'm hearing there.
Yes, and I would say that in my work, what I'm truly proud of is that I try to, not hold people's hands, but to give them tools, give them this knowledge that they can do this for themselves. Because usually, what happens is that in best case scenario, people go to other people to be held or to be listened to, or to be, can't you do this for yourself first? This would be so important. And then, build on that, connecting with others and interacting with others. And that would be such a different world if everyone did that self-work.
Is there any particular exercise that comes to mind when you think about this kind of holding yourself, listening to yourself?
I definitely encourage them to do a routine, like create a sort of routine of checking in with yourself, like at least, to frame your day, to start your day and at the end of your day, and in the middle would be nice too. And in any moment when something like unexpected, or maybe, very acute, very, kind of emergency like situation comes up, so that you can go to this place of connection with yourself and tell yourself it's all gonna be all right. I'm sure, I trust myself, I will find the solution, so that you don't go into the panic zone, but rather treat this as a learning zone. You've been challenged, you've been given a difficult situation, so now you're gonna learn something, or you're gonna, be put to the test, okay? But sort of, like, be there for yourself, because you are always it would be nice to be your best company, right? Because you're spending all the time with yourself, so all day long. So yeah, I would say yes, that. And this check-in can take different form for everyone, It can be in a moment of meditation, or in little mindfulness exercises, journaling. I'm truly a chatterbox. I love oral processing. However, I have to say that on my personal development journey, journaling and writing things out. And I used to be, when I was a student, I used to make all my proper notes. Like I never trusted anyone else or the books or anything. Like I made a lot of notes. So writing is truly therapeutical. So if you are able to throw things on the paper, it kind of is becoming tangible. You can see it. It's a different energy. So you feel relieved. At least you like embodied it on the
Yep.
you gave it an embodiment through the journal, through the paper, through the writing. And it's not about solutions, but at least you gave yourself the honor, the time, the respectable time to stop for a moment and acknowledge, okay, I have encountered something difficult, or I have checked in with myself, and this is how I felt. Gratitude practice, so important to truly feel connected to reality, to our reality, because with all the distraction and the amount of information tsunami that is coming at us, it's really, without this check-in moments, it's hard to stay sane, I feel, in today's world. Yeah, I honestly don't know how people do without conscious efforts to be with themselves every day a little bit.
100%. And I love that journaling idea also, because I feel like you get it out of your system. That's the first thing, the relief that you talked about. And then also you can have some distance to it, because now it is written on a paper. It's no longer living in your head. So it often is way less dangerous or over-consuming once you actually have it tangible in front of you.
Overwhelm is definitely something I encountered a lot, especially if you are someone who is dynamic, living an active life and seeking out challenges, and like to give space to your curiosity and jump, take a leap into things. It can be overwhelming, especially with today's world, dealing with all the types of energies we encounter in a day, etc. So I think it helps a lot with overwhelm, for sure.
Is there anything more on your mind that you want to leave listeners with before we round it up?
I just hope that we gave some little food for thought and hints to inspire them to connect to themselves and find their own way, because there's no one recipe, or we are not giving the magic bullet, but we can help to guide someone to find their way, and just to step on this journey. That's what I wish for everybody who is listening.
I think there were so many nuggets in here, so definitely people can take something away from it. If people would like to have you as a guide, as someone who can hold their hand on this journey, where can they go to find more about you?
I'm most active on LinkedIn, so I share a lot there. They can find me there, and I also have a website, which is just my name. Would be happy to hear their stories, and if I could be of assistance, then sure.
Awesome.
Step on this journey. No problem.
We're going to have both of them linked down below for everyone who wants to check that out. Eszter, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for the opportunity. I love sharing energy with you, Nina. Thank you.
All right, tribe. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and a comment below. There's going to be new episodes dropping every Wednesday, covering everything from entrepreneurship to health, basically giving you all the tools that you need to peak perform in business and in your life. So please make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. This is a one-woman show. There is no network, there are no sponsors, and there is no editing team behind this, so it's up to me and you to spread the word about it. So if you have a friend who might benefit from what you learned today in this episode, please make sure to share a link with them. I see you next Wednesday. Much love.